Good day, brothers and sisters in Christ. Welcome to our Sunday reflection for the 30th Sunday of ESC. The theme of our reflection is the power of vulnerability. God, be merciful to me, a sinner. Luke chapter 13, verse 18. Cindy Casper shares how she ventured out several weeks after shoulder surgery, feeling apprehensive. She had become comfortable using her arm sling, which both her surgeon and physiotherapist advised her to stop wearing. That's when she saw this statement. At this stage, sling wear is discouraged, except as a visible sign of vulnerability in an uncontrolled environment. It was then that she realized why she found it so challenging to stop wearing the sling. She was afraid that an enthusiastic person may give her a bear hug, or the unwary friend might bump into her. She was hiding behind her fragile baby blue sling, afraid of being hurt. Based on her experience, advertising our weakness is a powerful asset. But we tend to hide our weaknesses because we associate them with failure and the risk of rejection. Our readings today highlight the power of weakness in different ways. This is especially clear in the parable Jesus shares in the gospel reading. The Pharisee approached God from a position of strength, seeing his piety as proof of his right relationship with God and others. His prayer, however, revealed self-reliance, leaving no room for God. In contrast, the tax collector approached God from a place of weakness. He was honest about his relationship with God and, trusting in no personal merit, asks God for mercy. The parable teaches that humility is essential for effective prayer, as our first reading shows. God responds to those who acknowledge their need for Him. This reliance on God is also reflected in St. Paul's act of self-emptying in the second reading. Although Paul lists his accomplishments, unlike the Pharisee, he attributes everything to God's grace. It is not surprising that our readings flip the usual standards of evaluation. Only those who acknowledge their need for God can turn to Him in times of weakness. It is those who trust that God will be their strength in their struggles who seek Him. The humble, the poor, the brokenhearted are not closer to God because of their circumstances, but because in their difficult times, they turn to God instead of relying on themselves. God is merciful, and they experience this mercy when they pray for it. God is the source of their strength, and they are strong when they turn to Him. This contradicts our human instincts and the standards of the world that tell us to hide our weaknesses, appear strong, and focus on self-promotion. But we cannot advance in faith by following this approach. Being a Christian means choosing a life of vulnerability because the basis of our faith is that God came to us through Jesus in complete weakness. Sometimes we fear this because we fear our weakness. Nevertheless, it is through complete and unreserved powerlessness that God reveals divine mercy. Our obsession with power makes it difficult, if not impossible, to understand this divine mercy. We keep praying to the Almighty and powerful God, but it is in weakness that God is truly almighty and all-powerful. God encourages us to reveal our weakness so that we can experience His redemption and become a source of redemption for others. Henry Nouwen expresses this idea well enough. And I quote, Nobody escapes being wounded. We are all wounded people, whether physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. The main question is not how can we hide our weak wounds so we don't have to be embarrassed, but how can we put our woundedness in the service of others? When our wounds cease to be a source of shame and become a source of healing, we have become wounded healers. End of quote. The tax collector and the needy in our readings were unashamed of their wounds, which were covered by God's mercy rather than their own strength. Although we may admire them, we tend to act more like the Pharisee who believed he could earn his salvation. We are called to renew our trust in divine mercy and practice humility. So this week, I invite you to do the following. Being Fellowship Sunday, after Mass, introduce yourself to someone you see every Sunday but do not know. Secondly, examine your conscience and say the prayer of the tax collector, "O God, be merciful to me, a sinner, every day this week." Then finally, set aside your pride and apologize to someone from whom you need forgiveness. Write a letter if it is impossible to do so in person. If contacting that person is impossible, bring the letter to Eucharistic adoration and pray for the person. Have a blessed week.